Yo, tuned in, it's that time again. Welcome to the show under the bright zen. Just another messenger bringing the news with the beat in your soul. Let's light up these views. We're diving deep, no time for snooze. Grab your headphones, let me share the clues. In a world so loud, where voices collide, we find the rhythm, let the truth be our guide. Hit that play button, feel the vibe. Every second counts, let's take that ride. From stories untold to laughs we share. Just another messenger, we're always there. Hi. It's a jam, just sit back and unwind. With our flow and our style, it's one of a kind. Life's a mix, just like a DJ spins. We serve you the truth where the journey begins. It's a jam, we're all in this together. Sound waves linking us, no matter the weather. Just another messenger, we keeping it tight. With every single drop, we rise and ignite. Yeah.
Good day. I'm your host, Tamara L., and welcome to another installation of Just Another Messenger, where we raise the situational urgency and consciousness regarding today's current events. We'll dive deep into the historical past by examining the philosophies, legal system, and political decisions that continues to influence our daily lives. So please join the conversation during the episode. Your comment matters. Hit the subscribe, share, and like button to be a part of more thought-provoking conversation in the future. You wouldn't want to miss it. And don't forget to visit our website at www.justanothermessenger.com that connects you to all our social feeds, online merch store, and our link to support the work via Cash App at $JustAnotherMessenger. So let's get started. All right. We're back to Just Another Messenger. Let's get started this evening. We have a lot to unpack here. Now, there are scandals such as Watergate, Bill Clinton's Oval Office escapade, and so-called voter election fraud. Then there are systems. Now, welcome back to Just Another Messenger. I'm your host, Tamara L. Now, I know I've been gone for a week. Before I get started, what I would like to do, I would like to send a special thank you to those that reached out directly via text and social media regarding my ability to get well. Now, not to mention my special spiritual counterpart, mate, Wayne, for being present, loving, and attentive. Now, let me tell you here, there's a very nasty germ bug that's going on around here in this area. And it's time for all us to take the time to cleanse all areas of our lives. That's include our mind, body, and spirit. And again, I would like to thank those for just being present and allow me well wishes. Now, let's talk about tonight's special Monday night episode, because we normally air on Wednesday, but this is a special Monday episode that should have aired last Monday. Now, we're not just talking about a name in the Epstein file and the horrible events that took place amongst children. We're going to go deeper in that. We're going to talk about power transfer, public money, executive authority, and a federal agency most Americans have never heard of. And the United States, which is called the United States International Development Finance Corporation, known as the DFC. Put a pin in that, because this is going to become very important, because this is also going to connect you to what you see in the news today that deals with the situation that's going on down in Mexico with the cartel. There's a connection with that. There's going to also be a connection you're going to see with the Venezuela. There's going to be connection with the war that took place with Ukraine, as the proxy war that took place with Ukraine as well as Russia. It's also a connection with the proxy war that that's taking place or took place between Israel and Palestine. So these events, they are a correlation of what's taking place. Now, when you look at this Follow the Money episode, you're going to also see that this is what we can also coin doctrine of discovery 2.0. So you've heard of Jeffrey Epstein, and you also heard of Leon Black, which was the equity tycoon that paid Jeffrey Epstein about $150 million for tax advice. So yeah, let's get into that. But have you heard of the DFC? I'm quite sure you haven't. It's quite new, and we're going to expose that here tonight. And have you asked who controls that? If you have heard of it, have you really had the opportunity to dive deep into the understanding and to say who control it? So if not, well, what we're going to do, we're going to connect the dots before we get started and before I go off air, because I have a lot I want to definitely share with you regarding that information. And before do that, let's do this here. I'm a little rusted, but we're going to get through this. So before we do that, we're going to ask you to like, share, and subscribe over on our YouTube page at Just Another Messenger. And also please follow our page on X at JAM underscore 404 podcast. And if you're someone you know would like to be a part of the show, please send a nice, warm, friendly email to Just Another Messenger podcast at gmail.com. As you hear, my voice is still struggling to get through there. We're going to make it through this tonight. And please continue to support the show, the alternative media outlet. You can do that via our Cash App at $ Just Another Messenger. All right. So we would like to thank those for tuning in this evening. I know we have a lot of bots that's starting to come in and make these very derogatory comments. So unlike last episode, I didn't want that to flash across and be a distraction. So I took the comment section off from being viewed. And I see we have quite a few bots in the chat this evening. So let's see if we can go ahead and train them and learn some new information along the way. Before we go do that, we're going to cut out and come back in. All right. All right, all right, all right. Just had to clear up some of those little comments we had on those little pests. It seemed like these germs are going on all over the place. They're going in on social media in the air and trying to invade you in every part of your body. But let's look at this follow the money here, and we're going to get started with today's episode. Let's do that. But let's start off with our disclaimer to say Just Another Messenger is a platform dedicated to public education, historical awareness, cultural critique, and transformative discussions under the protection of Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Act of 1976, formerly referred to as fair use. Just Another Messenger does not provide statutory counseling for any United States color of law jurisdictional proceedings. Now, the content presented by Just Another Messenger may include excerpts of copyrighted material, such as images, audio, video, and written works for the purpose of criticism, commentary, news reporting, education, scholarship, and research. It's very important we let everyone know that, because all such usage is not commercial in nature and intended to stimulate public discourse, raise consciousness, and support transformative learning. We do not claim ownership over any third-party copyrighted material used. All rights and credit belong to the original creators. And if you are the copyright holder of any material featured and have concerns regarding its use, please contact us directly via the email for prompt resolution. And we have provided that earlier in our feed. All right, let's see here. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about who is Leon Black, and let's look at this connection to Epstein. Now, as we talked about earlier, Leon Black, he was the co-founder of Apollo Global Management, the billionaire private equity titan. I mean, when I say he was a equity titan, he reinvented what historical security giants of the past, known as the Buttonwood Agreement. He reinvented the securities industry, and he was a longtime financial associate of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, there was an investigation that took place here, and I'm going to show you the investigation that took place. Now, as we were going through and researching these data files of the that was released from the Department of Justice, I'm going to go over one of the investigation that took place. Now, in one of these investigations, it had revealed that Black had paid Epstein, like I said, over $150 million for tax advice. Now, this tax advice they said had continued after Epstein's 2008 convention. Now, let's be clear here because following this money is going to be very important for you to put a pin in the understanding of Leon Black as well as Jeffrey Epstein. Now, let's be clear about this. This relationship was not a casual, I'm coming to the party relationship. It was financial, it was structured, and it's documented, and it still lives on as of today. Now, Epstein operated as a gatekeeper to this global power network where he become financed it, intelligence as well as politics. So when a name appears in a structured file in this um, investigation with the Department of Justice, it signals a record keeping and not a rumor. Now, this isn't about a tabloid scandal. Oh no, this bigger than a tabloid scandal. It affects you on an everyday basis. It's about elite financial networks overlapping with public power structures. And let's look at that. Let's look at what we're talking about in the Department of Justice. There are so many different what they call data set files. I mean, there are thousands of these data set files. And I mean, it's going to take years to go through this stuff. So I don't even see how they were able to go through it so fast. It's probably been going on for years looking at it before they even released it out, and then also to be able to redact it as well. But going through and researching some of these data sets, it will make you it's very sickening. It's very sickening. Now, but we're gonna evaluate one of the data sets that we came upon, and this is data set file number EFTA 02731488. We're going to dissect this data set. And reason why we're going to dissect this just a little bit, we're going to get into a little bit of this because it's very important for you to see how this plays into effect. So let me bring this data set on the let me bring this on the online. Let me bring that in. Your computer. Let me share this. All right. We're going to get this up here one way or the other. All right, there we go. Here we go. Let's look at this. All right, there we go. Let's look at this. We're going to increase that so you can see it a little bit more. All right, there we go. So let's look at this. This one, as you see, it was redacted and was from the from and to was redacted. Now, as you can see, the subject is titled hashtag notes, and it's a trafficking 5/26/2023 Leon Black call with Jeanne Christensen Esquire. Now, this was as you can see on this call with Jeanne Christensen of the law firm Wigdor LLP was a referral. And as you can see, some of the notes that took place in here. And as you can see at that time, they say Leon Black, he was a Wall Street person. At that time, they say he was 72 or 71 years now. He founded the largest private equity global fund that exists today that's publicly traded. Please make a note of that. He's one of Epstein's friend, which is very powerful. They said Leon Black is powerful. He's powerful than Epstein. Now they say 7 to 8 years, Black was sexually violent with her. Now this is the complaint. And it say Black bites. Now we're not gonna go over that part. He bites parts of her body. Violence was arousing to him, very painful for her. And it's also say JC represented victim for civil defamation case. not sex abuse case. And it also say that he went to USAO, which means to the United States Attorney Office in Manhattan on May or June of 2021. And they say JC wasn't representing her anymore. And they said they got a call from a victim woman who said she heard about the lawsuit against Black. And victim said Black raped her around 20 years ago in Epstein's townhome. And it said the victim described it painful, and it goes into that. So I just wanted to show you how this file connects. It connects Black and it connects Epstein. So what we're gonna do, we have to show you that to show you that connection, but we also gonna go into um the connection also. We're going to segue into the next level, because as one level is moved from the board, there's another level that also comes into play. And as Leon Black was prosecuted for the events that took place in connection with Epstein, now it enters Ben Black and the DFCs. Now, as you can see, it's on here. Ben Black is the son of Leon Black. And Ben Black, he's held a lot of senior positions in finance and government, the adjacent development circles, which means he was in the circle at the same time as his father, Leon Black. So even though you may take the king off the board in the game of chess, whereas you may take the king off the board, but however, you have other players on the board that can rise up into that king status, such as what is taking place also in Mexico, where they eliminated the head of the cartel, El Menchio. They eliminated the most violent head of one of the cartels. But however, there's others that's well trained and suited that could be as ruthless as the head and ready to step into position and take their place. Now, this is what is taking place when you see Ben Black step forward and take the role. When you take down the king, Leon Black, his father, very powerful. Here enters Ben Black, his son. Now he raises up and take the position of the king power of the equity world, the finance world, the investment world, because he was very adjacent to the world that his father was built. Now he also later becomes associated with leadership inside the U.S. And which is the creation of the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, commonly known now as the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation. Now, what does this matter? What does this mean, and why does this matter? Because the DFC is not charity. It's not, oh, I'm funneling money, or money is being set aside and it's being labeled on a 990 form or some type of charity write-off form. It's not charity. It is not USAID. It's not cosplay as they had with USAID, as we're going to go around and appear to be benevolent to countries that are in need. No, 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 no. It's not USAID. This is next level of doctrine of discovery 2.0. This is not humanitarian aid. It is a U.S. government investment bank. That's what DFC is. This is the creation of a U.S. government investment bank. And let's get into the creation of the DFC now, and how it was created. Now, the DFC, it was created in 2018 under Donald Trump. Now, the Bill Act, it replaced and absorbed the former Overseas Private Investment Corporation. Now, it also consolidated several development credit functions administered. Now let's look at this Build Act. We're gonna have to look at this because you got to look at it to understand it. All right, let me share the screen and so you can look at this because I want you to see what I'm seeing in order to understand it. So we made the connection between Leon Black and Epstein. We showed you the data set and the investigation. We also showed you, now we're showing you the newest player on the scene, which is his son, Leon Black. Now let's look at this bill here. Now this bill was in um it was ushered in the Senate, and it was established. So let's look at this bill. This bill was to establish the United States International Development Finance Corporation, like you said, shorts for DFC. And let's look at its purpose. It's to be enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled. So so there's always this argument over the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. But people, we must look at this is not, and I know there's also saying it's two wings of the said bird. We must always look at this in a manner of a uniparty because it takes both the agreeable votes as well as disagreeable votes of both House and Senate in order for a bill to even get to the point to reach the president. We must make that clear. So, in short, the title for the Bill Act is called This Act May Be Cited as the Better Period Utilization Period of Investments Leading to Development Act of 2018, also known as the Build Act. So that's the acronym. The Build, BUILD, is short for Better Utilization of Investments Leading to Development Act of 2018. Now, this is such contradictory to MAGA. I'm going to show you how it's contradictory to MAGA. Has nothing to do with Make America Great Again. Now I'm gonna show you that. All right. So this is quite a misleading meant to the constituents and American people regarding this because okay, let's look at because this was in effect. This is something that Donald Trump put into effect. So which means that he's misleading his constituents because this is far removed from the Make America Great Again. Now let's look at I want to make sure I'm pulling the correct one. One, two. All right, here we go. Let's look at this. Keep pulling at the bottom. All right. All right, let's look at the establishment. It is a policy of the United States to facilitate market-based private sector development and economic growth in less developed countries through the provision of credit, capital, and other financial support. And it's also to mobilize private capital in support of sustainable, broad-based economic growth, poverty reduction, and development through demand-driven partnership with the private sector that further the foreign policy interests of the United States. All right, we're going to put a pin in that, and I want you to hold that as I continue to go forward. Let's talk about in general. All right, less developed economies. In general, the corporation shall prioritize the provisions of support under Title II in countries with low income economies or lower middle income economies as defined by the World Bank. Let's look at that. The corporation shall prioritize the provisions of support under Title II in countries with low income economies or lower middle income economies as defined by the World Bank. All right. Now, what is defining role of the World Bank? I'm gonna bring that up to the screen because I want to look at something. Hmm. I want to I want to look at something when we talk about the World Bank. Oh man, I didn't mean to take that off. All right, I'll pull that back up. Let's look at the World Bank in the DFC. I want to make this clear. Now, how does this go into play with the World Bank? Now, when we look at the World Bank, what is the World Bank and its connection with the DFC? We have to define this in its fullness, understanding what is connection. Now, the International Bank, the World Bank is what is known as the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. It's a combination of two. It's a combination of the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which is known as the IBRD, which was founded in 1944, Bretton Woods. So this is the legacy of the Bretton Woods Agreement, which is the securities exchange that created the NASDAQ, which created the Security Exchange of New York. So this is the legacy of the Bretton Woods Agreement. And it lends to middle income and credit worthy low income countries, as well as raises funds on global capital markets regarding high credit rates. And it also is a combination with the International Development Associated that was created in 1960. And it provides concessional loans and grants to the world's poorest countries. Now, we must make this self clear because what we're looking at here is geopolitical funding. That's what we're looking at here. We're looking at geopolitical funding, and the DFC is created, is under the executive control of Donald Trump. So it's like Donald Trump has pretty much created a corporation within the executive office of government and management. Now, this department of the DFC, the International Development Finance, we're going to get into what role that it is going to play in the development. So now when you're looking at all these different wars and rumors of wars that are taking place, you're now able to see how they're looking to fund those wars for investment and securitization. Now, this was said, this DFC, the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, it is created, controlled, and under the management of the executive office of Donald Trump. And he will remain even after his presidency, he is built in that he will remain as the head board member of this quasi executive corporation within the United States. Now, as you can see here, now Donald Trump controls the International Development Finance Corporation. It is a U.S. government corporation and operates under the executive branch. And he appointed himself to this corporation, this government-owned corporation. He appointed by the president, which is himself. And the board of this corporation, it includes the Secretary of State. It includes the Secretary of Treasury. It includes the Secretary of Commerce. And ding, 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 it includes also USAID administrators. So USAID, so the beautiful pomp and circumstances of removing the USAID. Oh, we're draining a swamp. We're getting rid of these bad actors and bringing in Dodge, whatever that was, Elon. All that is what we called a red herring effect, because this is the following of the money that they're not saying that, hey, we basically like emancipation. We emancipated those other organizations such as USAID, the overseas U.S. overseas protection overseas. We collapse those charitable, quasi-charitable organizations that we use to funnel money to different foreign countries to give them money in the name of aid. We're not going to do it in the name of aid. We're going to call it what it is. We're going to be giving out loans. We're going to go and destroy these countries through wars, through proxy wars, and they're going to need financing for reconstruction and rebuilding, and we're going to be the lender, and we're going to take all those securities and treasury notes, and we're going to securitize those on the stock exchange. So, but however, you have to look at this. This means that it is an executive branch controlled foreign investment capital backed by U.S. taxpayer credit, not Congress run, not state run. This is executive directive, which means the Build Act authorized direct equity investments in foreign corporations only. This is not MAGA. This is not making America great again. Because if you read further into the Build Act, it shows you where the profiting of the project, the profit goes to the investors and the equity partners, whereas the loss of a project, a foreign project, is on the heads of the U.S. taxpayers. So no, this does not make America great again at all. Where this is also a political risk insurance. If you're in the insurance business, you understand that this is one of those things that typically in the insurance world, they have what you call an exclusion. They have an exclusionary clause. So certain things are excluded from profit and gain. And most of the times it's wars. Wars are normally exclusionary periods where if a building is, an area is bombed, such as what took place with Libya and all these other countries, and countries need money to rebuild and they have to go get loan for their rebuilding infrastructure. Typically they will have the insurance, because the insurance doesn't cover wars. Now, what this is creating a political risk insurance model. That's what the DFC is creating for these companies. But when you're the proxy of the war, it's like you're funding both sides of the war. It's going to create loan guarantees to foreign countries as well as private sector partnerships in developing nation. This is geopolitical finance. So no more humanitarian. This is geopolitical finance, because what was the difference between USAID and DFC, as you're going to see here? Let's look at the legislative update on that. So if we look at the public law between the USAID and DFC, what you're going to see is that the USAID, it historically provided grants, it administered humanitarian aid, and it provided technical development assistance, whereas the DFC is only going to make investments, it takes equity stakes, and it issues loans, and it ensures private capital. This type of shift is critical, and all this information is found in the Public Law 115-254, which is the Public Bill Act of 2018, which means the shift is so critical because it shifts now from the USAID of aid to DFC of financial instrument under the Bill Act. So basically, what Trump has done is saying, we give away money we leverage taxpayer capital to build markets. And let me show you this blueprint of that. Let me show you the blueprint of how this capital flow is going to fund through and heavily affect the taxpayers on an everyday basis. We're going to have to look at this. Let's look at this. I hope I'm making this very plain for you, because if you can't see this as being very plain and know how you're going to be affected by this, we're going to be affected by this. Who gets priority in terrorist payoffs? I suggest Luckman's kids' venture should be last and after an investigation. Who gets priority? Okay, let's show this on the screen. So the question is, who gets priority in terrorist payoffs? So the government is priority in the terrorist payoff. Top priority. That's how it's funneled. It's funneled in. It's funneled to back to the government. The government receives it from various nations. There's rarely a trickling down um, that takes place to the American people, because there has and sometimes they say the trickle down can sometimes come from tax cuts. It can sometimes come reduction in prices, such as consumer goods. So you may see changes in our consumer output prices and things of that. But those are very small incremental um, things that show up in the American people um, pockets, where they are able to actually see that. So the government itself see, I'll say about 80. I don't know the numbers. I'm not an economist, but if I had to be a gambling person, let's just say majority. Let's not put a number to it. Let's just say majority. They see majority of the tariffs that come in on the payoffs. All right. Now, don't they have immunity? Yes. With DFC, yes, the government corporation has immunity in the event that something goes wrong astray. Like you said, the secretary, there's built-in immunity in that bill, to where, let's just say, there's something egregious happening in the process, or it could be bad contract, a bad act, something that take place. Well, they built in a layer this time. So within that act, bad actors are not punished, as long as it's in the scope of operating through the Build Act of 2018. So bad actors that operate in foreign jurisdiction while working with a connection under the Bill Act, they are not held accountable for their actions. So, like, you see this entire blackmail ring that's going on with Epstein. Bad actors are losing their jobs, they're losing their lives, unaliving and things like that. So this has created now what you call a soft land. You can go out and be a bad actor while working, having an investment, a connection to the Build Act, and you have built-in immunity. There's built-in immunity when your work is connected to the Build Act. That's absolutely correct. There's definitely immunity built in. Now let's look at this. Let's look at the flow of capital through the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation. Let's look at who's hit first. U.S. taxpayers through their federal revenue. The U.S. taxpayers are hit daily, and U.S. taxpayers will not see the profit. All the profit from that are received, any profits from the projects in the of the DFC foreign contracts, any of those projects that has a profit, the U.S. taxpayer players would never see a penny. They would never see a penny of that. That profit goes to what they call private equity investors. It will be returned to those partners, but because they are not seeing they did not build the U.S. taxpayer in as a partner. We are just a debt burden and debt carrier of all of this project. Now let's look at U.S. Treasury. Now the U.S. Congress is at appropriation, so the Congress will they appropriations and credit. Appropriations is another word for the word appropriation is another word for tax abatement. So recently, Donald Trump, recently the justices, SCOTUS, the justices, by a vote of 63, deemed Trump's tariffs to be unconstitutional. Why did SCOTUS say that Trump's tariffs that he placed on those on foreign nations were unconstitutional? Because they did not go through the U.S. Congress of Appropriations, which means Congress is has your House and your Senate. They have the deciding. It's built into the Constitution. They have they're the only ones have the right to levy taxes, which is called the appropriations. They're the only ones who have a right to levy taxes appropriated upon the people. So when Trump was just up there just sprouting out and shouting out taxes on this nation, taxes on that nation, taxes on that nation, those who know and understand the Constitution very well see that that was just a farce. I don't even know how nations was even sending their money. Like, really? If they understood the Constitution, they shouldn't have sent a penny because it was very unconstitutional because it had not went through the proper channels of Congress to make the appropriations, because it's the people, as you can see at the top, it's the American citizens, the taxpayers are the ones who are going to accept the cost for the taxation of appropriation onto other nations, which is called tariffs and credit authority. All right. Now, the U.S. Treasury, they have credit backing plus federal guarantee. Now, the U.S. Treasury works in conjunctions with the Internal Monetary Fund. So they have a very slight role in this DFC new government corporation. Now, as you can see, the main player in this entire thing, center player, as we said before, is the executive branch, which is the president plus the cabinet level board. And they said cabinet level board, we said it was the secretary of treasury, secretary of commerce, as well as USAID administrators, which were quasi corporation. Yes, checks and balances. That is absolutely correct. Now, let's look at how the executive board now funnels the duties to the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, DFC. This is like Donald Trump creating, this is Donald Trump, like I said, created his own internal corporation. It's like he created his own LLC, his own S Corp, which is called DFC. And DFC is now has the ability to do loans and loans guarantee, equity investment, political risk insurance. Now, as we said, this doesn't have anything to do with MAGA. So this is a I would call a stab in the back to MAGA voters. All right, because this deals with foreign infrastructure projects. Don't believe me? Go read the legislation, Public Law 115-254, Build Act of 218. It doesn't have anything to do with the building of America. All right. This has to do with lending money to low economies, countries, and nation of things that nation. Foreign infrastructure projects, energy, mining, telecom, transport, private partners and investment funds, strategic geopolitical alliances. So if DFC loans money to these foreign nations and those projects are unprofitable, which means that those securities that come in, they're able to securitize them on the stock exchange. If they're not profitable, they're not going to be able to provide profit sharing to those private investor equity holders. So if they're not, which means that every American taxpayer is going to be on the hook for paying that bill of that loan. We're not, yes. Oh, let me tell you, everyone. This is someone I am so grateful to have this person in the house. Malika Dusa. Let me show you. This person, I started studying law, understanding law jurisprudence through this person. Now, if you want to learn and understand and understand, overstand, this is the person I would say also to go and learn and understand jurisprudence law and understand how the money is flowing. Thank you. As you stated, in creating dependencies from economic slave. If you would, Malika, please put up the name of your. It's called Friends in Law. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on Facebook, Friends in Law. Please go look her up. Wonderful, great information. I love giving shout outs to people when knowledge is being extended. I'm telling you, you're going to, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth your studies. I promise you that. It's going to be definitely worth your studies. Yes, Friends in Law. Yes, I'm telling you, it's worth it. Please go check her out. So as we looked here, as you say, it's going to this is the goal, creating dependencies from economic slaves. Absolutely. Hit it right on the head. As you say, I'm giving you at Living Lawful 007 on YouTube. Go check it out, people. Like, share, and subscribe to the page. Actually, I would love to. I'm going to hit her up on the back end and see if she's going to be would like to come on just another messenger and grace us with additional information. So go check it out, people. All right. So as you said, creating economic debt slaves. Um, Now, this is the public law, people. I want everyone to go look up, go read it, go understand this, what's going on. Public Law 115-254, Bill Act of 2018. Now, give her this information because in everything, there's always a way of escape and there's a way of solution. And it's always calling living lawful, understanding. You have to get into a space where you have to know that your sovereign stance, your sovereign space is not about sovereign citizen, anything of that nature. That's a whole nother episode. So yes, you have to get into that space. Now, what is this about? Let's look at what is this about. Um, what this is about, the DFC was brought about as a countermeasure with the US China trade race. And how could you say it's a race, Camera? Why would you say it's a race? Well, it's an uneven race. And it's an uneven race because China began their race a whole lot sooner than the U.S. is just. I'm not even sure if the U.S. had even came out of the starting block. I'm not sure if they even came out of the starting block on that race. Because this race that we're talking about, and let me get to it. This race we're talking about with the US and China race, this has to do with an old, ancient, very old, ancient model that took place. It was originally called the Silk Road. Now it's being rebranded even under the China industry. It's being rebranded and the it's called the China's BRI, which is the Belt and Road Initiative. Thank you. It's called the Belt and Road Initiative. And this race is a state-led infrastructure expansion to deepen trade, energy security, and geopolitical influence. Whereas the US DFC is a government-backed development finance to mobilize private capital and counter the strategic rivals of the China's Belt and Road Initiative. Let's look at this Belt and Road Initiative because this is where this is at. This China Belt and Road Initiative is very ancient. It's an ancient maritime Silk Road of the Moorish Empire. All right. So This BRI was launched in 2013. So, which is if DFC was only created in 2018, have they even started the race yet? So this is kind of almost like an uneven race we got going on here. And I say this an uneven race. I say this a very uneven race is yeah, US haven't even started. Yeah, not even at the gate. No, they haven't even started. And I say this is a very uneven race because we faulted on the race. Tamara, when did we faulted on the race? We faulted on the race in 1992, thanks to Bill Clinton through the NAFTA agreement. So I'm not sure if our listening audience are maybe old enough to understand the NAFTA agreement of 1992. But the NAFTA agreement of 1992 that was signed and ushered in by Bill Clinton, that removed majority of what is known today the industrial complex to foreign nations. Ding, 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 such as China. hmm So at that time, when China was still in the agricultural nation, such as soybean, rice, and things like that, United States said, we don't want to do this laborious work, working in plants and things of that nature, building our own products, you know, uh, planting our own foods. We're gonna outsource that to other nations. We're going to have okay, thank you, Maytag. We don't need you anymore. Thank you, Clorox. We don't need so all I mean, when I say there were tons of corporations that had to pack up overnight and go do business with countries such as China, Mexico, Canada. So now we have all these nations feeding us. And then they say, oh, farmers, you can just sit down and we'll just give you a yearly subsidy and you can just, sit back and chill out because you don't have the blacks picking your food anymore. So you don't have to pick your own food. So don't worry about it. We'll just send you a yearly subsidy check to not farm. We'll send your money to not farm, but you continue to hold the land that we gave you during the land grab. You continue to hold on to the land, but you no longer have to work the land anymore because we're gonna let Mexico grow all your food. We're gonna let China grow all your food. We're gonna let Canada grow all your food. We're gonna let every other foreign nation grow your food and feed America and make America sick and fat and all. We're not going to worry about that part because we're going to profit off the cheap labor and the cheap prices. So now we're looking at how could you put tariff on countries such as Canada and Mexico, which you have free trade with. Like, it doesn't make sense, people. How could you put a tariff on nations that you created a free trade agreement with in 1992? Like, did no one ever read the last agreement, the contractual trade agreement? Okay, so we're dealing with that. Yeah, it leaves the USA out of the lead in the international. USA lost the lead back in Reagan. We can take this thing all the way back to Reaganomics, trickle down economics. That's what they think. They think these tariffs supposed to be Reaganomics, trickle down economics. They think it's supposed to be another episode of milk cartons. It's like for those of us who look at what took place in the past, we see the same playbook over and over again. So the Belt and Road Initiative of China was started in 2013 under founder Jinping, and he built this road agreement, guess what, for connectivity and a win-win corporation. All right. Now, it's primarily state bank lending, which is mean China Development Bank, Exim Bank of China, sovereign loans to governments. That's what it's talking about. Their sovereign money, their sovereign loans. We got the gold. We got the resources. We haven't gave everything away. Projects are often built by Chinese SOEs. And it's debt-based model dominance, which means they are monitoring their gross domestic product output, which means if you go look at the currency, you will see that America has exceeded its GDP, which what makes the dollar so weak. All right, people. So whereas the DFC, they're trying to use a loan based guarantee model that's political risk insurance and equity investment, where mobilize private U.S. and allied capital, such as their what do they call, what is the name they're calling, technocrats, oligarchs, their elites and things that they want to use those big boy guys to fund this thing. So also it's backed by US Treasury Credit Authority. That's where the US Treasury come in at. And it blends public authority with market instruments. What is the market instrument? That's another thing for NASDAQ, which is Buttonwood Agreement 2.0, which is the stock exchange. So the key difference in this is that China's Belt and Road Initiative is China's state capital onward, whereas DFC is U.S. taxpayer backed leverage to crowd in private capital, which means people, you think that debt ceiling is high now, it's going to triple under this DFC model. Yeah. Because you talking about giving money to, you talking about giving credit, giving loans to poor nations. Last time I checked, you give credit to poor people. You're not getting that money. You're not getting that back. So yeah, good reading was that. So this is how taxpayers fund it. This is how taxpayers are going to fund that. They're going to fund this because a lot of those projects, a lot of those foreign projects, um, are not going to have a return on investment. They're not going to have a return on investment with these taxpayers projects, and we're going to be left holding the bag. So when this happens, it's not going to fare well. It's not going to fare well for the American taxpayers. It's not going to fare well at all. Now, this is also, if you read the book Confessions of an Economic Hitman, this is right in alignment with that book. And I put up a model to show you how the DFC is right in alignment with the book Confessions of an Economic Hitman. So the of an economic hitman model, it dealt with large infrastructure loans. It used U.S. allied project contractors such as USAID. It dealt with debt leverage for influence, and it deals with development framed as aid and national security overlay. Mhm. So I know that ICE is currently being used now domestically. Uh, is Perkins a new voice? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Is Perkins a new voice? Can you elaborate that? So clearly, the military industrial complex against the world talk about win-win business goes back to Lend Lease. It's deeper than Lend Lease. It's more so like modern. It's a continuation of modern slavery, modern economic debt slave. There's nothing being leased here. It's modern economic debt, continuation of modern economic debt slave. Is what the modern DFC modern model is about: sovereign and private sector finance. So when they say sovereign, they're talking about just the nation, just the corporate nation of the United States, which is on paper. All right. They're talking about the sovereign um corporation that is on paper, that's protected via the Treaty of 1783, the Treaty of Paris. Yes, that's what they mean by sovereign. All right. So the people are divinely sovereign, but when you're talking about political sovereign, they're talking about the political sovereignty of the corporation, where U.S. and allied private investment parties, the which is the executive, which the executive board, the executive team of Donald Trump has created the corporation of the DFC, and they're going to partner with private investment partners such as we said before, Apollo. So Apollo, Leon Black, Ben Black. Ben Black is the CEO of DFC. Ben Black, the son of Leon Black, the financier of Epstein, his son is the CEO of DFC. Go look it up. Don't believe me? Look it up. So it's a strategic investment tied to geopolitical alignment. This doesn't have anything to do with make America great again. It has everything to do with make America continue to be poor and insolvent. That's what it's about. Now, the development frame is investment. That's what the DFC model is. And it's explicit, is to counter the China strategic positioning because the United States is not in a great position when you talk about technology, when you talk about infrastructure, when you talk about when you're talking about merchant government to government relations and trading. America is not in a position to even be a good trade partner because we outsourced our resources. We outsourced even our skills, those skills to be able to create industries. We outsourced them back in 1992. So this generation don't know much about building, let's just say, the technologies that are needed to run society. So we're in trouble. We're in trouble. And that's why you see it's easy for them, a small few, to create a what you call those things, a bot or some type of algorithm that someone can sit in and multiply the speed of output that eliminate the workforce, that creates an elimination of workforce. Yeah, so so as the skilled labor were outsourced to foreign countries, now the knowledge build up was not even put into effect. Yes, there's an overburden of student loan debt that is taking place, but those student loan debts were just to those people that went to obtain those higher degrees. That was just a means to be able to just uphold the infrastructure, the industrial infrastructure that was in place that couldn't be outsourced, such as the administration part had to be managed. However, there's not been an influx of training that's taking place in America that's dealing with the next wave of the next industry, next working model industry. So that's why you have this upheaval in that's taking place with low economic productivity in America. We're not here to we have not been producing anything. So I do apologize. It took me a week to get this out to everyone. Like I said, I'm under the weather. I'm gonna come back on this. I was under the weather and just had to get myself together. I am glad to be back with everyone. It's been a trying time trying to get myself together, and I wanted to kind of bring this home so each of one of us can see that as we turn on our TVs and scroll through our reels, we're able to see these connection with these foreign situations that are taking place all across the globe. And even with, you have the volcanoes, you have the flooding, that's connected to the infrastructure. And you have, also the blizzards that's taking place. So it's not just the wars that's connecting to this build act, but let's keep in mind China is ahead of this race. China is way ahead of this Silk Road Initiative race. They re-engineered the Silk Road Initiative. Yes, and the Mexico unrest that's taking place. So when something is torn up, it must be built up. When something is destroyed, it must be repaired. There must be a reparations that must take place. Reparations deals with nation to nation, government to government. That's what reparations is about. Reparations is not about um, just because of the color of your skin, or just because your political uh standing or your spiritual standing, anything about reparations. I must say it deals with nation to make nation rebuilding. So when all these nations are currently under attack, they're going to be in a position of needing financing. So America's trying to put themselves in a position to be the financier of these nations that are under civil unrest, whether it's by natural disaster or man-made disaster. America's trying to put themselves in a position to be that financier. It's diabolical because there's a lot of issues that's going on right here in America that requires financing. There's a lot of homelessness, a lot of things that are taking place in America that require financing right here at home. So, like I said, Confessions of an Economic Hitman gives a great segue for understanding what took place under the USAID model and what's going to be taking place under the DFC model. And it's going to be interesting to see how Trump would be able to manage this executive level hierarchy of the DFC when he's no longer in office. So just wanted to bring that to you. Just wanted to keep in mind we normally tune in on Wednesday at 8 p.m. I have had to delay a trip last week because I was under the weather. So I have to make a quick run and take care of some things. So Just Another Messenger will not be airing on Wednesday. This Wednesday, we'll come back next Wednesday, but I did want to give you this special Monday special so I can go ahead and get this one out the book because it's been sitting there for a while. Because when we're looking at things and analyzing things, we like to put them together. And a lot of times it takes longer than a week to put this information together. Kind of want to bring this to you so you can go further deep into your studies and understanding. And also for you to understand that you have to get in proper position and alignment as yourself as a sovereign body to do what's required for you and your internal household nation. So that's what this is about. When you see the breadcrumbs, you're not a pigeon. You don't have to eat from the ground. Rise high, make your foundation higher so you can continue to grow and glow. All right, continue your monetization. We're not monetized on YouTube. We are never going to monetization on YouTube. Continue to support the alternative media outlet through our Cash App at $ Just Another Messenger. As we said, we will return back not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday. Until then, continue to like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for tuning in to Follow the Money. Bid your farewell and have a great, wonderful week. And be safe, everyone.